I'm building a fully remote observatory, and I'm currently in phase 1 of 4, which is the planning phase. And today I want to give you an update, and I also have a number of questions that I hope you can help me make decisions on. I want to start with the structure itself. I've been looking around trying to figure out what to do, and as I'm mostly more computer technical and not so much, actually building constructions and buildings, I've decided to go with a kit from a company called Dome Parts. It's a German company, and they have these roll-off roof observatories that just comes in a pre-built kit that you build. They have them in a variety of sizes, and I think I'm gonna go with the medium-sized one. That seems to be the one that's gonna be the best fit for what I want to do. As you can see from these basic drawings here, it's a very straightforward structure. There's no warm room or anything going on here. It's just a structure with a roof, and then the whole roof, of course, slides off. On the south-facing wall, you can kind of see in the drawing down here, there is a slot that lowers down so that you get better views towards the south, because otherwise, of course, you're going to have that tip there from the end of the building. That is going to lower down as you move the roof as well, giving you pretty good field of view, I think, all around. But here is the first issue that I want you guys' opinion on. And that is, if we take the assembly manual for this building, here you can get a better view of the south-facing wall here. And we jump down here, you can see that it actually calls for a concrete slab as a foundation. Now, obviously this raises two issues with me. First of all, if I put a single concrete slab down and then put a pier inside, then the pier and the building is on the same foundation, which could transfer vibrations, which goes against anything I've heard that you should do. You should put the pier on the separate foundation from the rest of the building. Secondly, I was also watching and reading a number of different forum posts and talks about people who built observatories before, and a lot of people say, don't put it on a concrete slab. It's gonna work as a thermal mass that's gonna soak up heat during the day, so when you roll away the roof in the evening, all that heat is gonna begin to rise, causing a lot of heat shimmer around in front of your telescope, reducing seeing. So here's my question. What should I do? Should I go with what the internet say and build a wooden deck underneath it instead and put the wood foundation or the wooden deck building on top, have that separate foundation, then the pier cast on its own in the middle? Or should I just pour down a concrete slab and put the building on as the manufacturers say? I really don't know what to do, and I would really like your guys' feedback on this. And also, if any of you guys have any experience with Dome Parts and their structures here, they seem relatively straightforward to build. I mean, basically you can see you put down the base frame and then you just begin to stack up the planks all around, and then you put support columns in the corner, and from there on it's just basically building the roof structure and putting on the rails. I have also talked with them regarding the rails, as these are just V-profile rails where the roof is just rolling on, so there's actually nothing other than gravity holding the roof down. And I talked with them, and they say that they have had people install them in rather remote areas in Ireland, where it's had been surviving some rather extreme hurricanes. So it seems to be strong enough from real-world experience that they have with their own customers. So I kind of trust that, and not really afraid of the roof blowing off. But it's just, yeah, I just basically want to hear you guys' opinion if you have any experience with this, and especially regarding the foundation. What should I do? Wooden deck or concrete slab? Okay, let's talk optical design. I'm pretty much sure that I'm gonna end up with something like an f7 refractor, and specifically some of these PHQs. These are the Patslov design refractors. These are 4-element refractors. That means they have a built-in fill flattener. And the reason I'm going with this specific design is because of that built-in fill flattener, you get quite a bit of backspace to work with. And as I want to fit first an off-axis guider, then I want to fit a fill rotator, then I want to fit a filter wheel, and then of course the camera, I'm going to need quite a bit of backspace, and you get quite a lot with these, often around 70 millimeters, which is quite nice. However, there are two that I've been looking at. One is the one that you see here on screen from Ascar. 130mm PHQ. I should say that I am putting this on a, the mount is going to be a Skywatcher EQ6 Pro. It's the older version. I have done the build mod, you saw that in the previous video. It is rated, depending on where you look, it's rated for a maximum carrying capacity for anywhere, sometimes they say 18, sometimes they say 20. Kind of depends on who you ask, but it's around that kind of area. So I kind of settled in and say, you know what, I don't want to put in much more than 15 kilograms. That's kind of my hard limit for how much weight I want to put on the mount for imaging, and that's probably stretching it a little bit. And here's the thing I find a little weird. Here we have a 130mm PHQ design. So it's a 4-element refractor. It is an this case is f7.7. But anyway, here's my problem. You can see here the total tube weight, including rings and dovetail. So not just the tube, but with rings, dovetail underneath. This one is 13 kilograms. That leaves me 2 kilograms for cameras and all the other stuff. It should be enough. It's gonna stretch it. We're gonna push it quite close to the limit. What I don't understand is, if we jump over to the German telescope service, you can see that they're under the TS Optics brand. They have a very similar telescope. It's once again, this time it's 126, so it's 4mm less. The other one is 130. It's still an f7. The other one's 7.7. This is an f7, so slightly faster. Slightly smaller, slightly faster. It's still a quadruple. So flat fielded, and this is the same design. You can see it's in the name here, PHQ, once again show up with the product number. So it's the same optical design, pretty much the same aperture, and say almost the same focal length, and the same focal ratio. However, scrolling down, looking at the technical specs, look at this. Weight, including rings and dovetail bar, is now only 7.8. That's 5 kilograms. More than 5 kilograms, actually. They just vanished from two telescopes that on paper should be almost identical. It's just like 4mm shorter or smaller in aperture, and it loses 5 kilograms. Now, some of it could be the fact that here you have a Vixen style plate, and the other one had like the Lost Bandit, the bigger plate, so that's going to add a small amount of weight, and maybe the tube body is slightly bigger. I don't know. But I guess my question here is, first of all, can anyone explain why this telescope is so much lighter than the other one? I have written to TS Optic, and they don't have them in stock right now, as you can see. But when they get them in stock, they're gonna put it on a scale for me just to confirm the total weight. But I've seen the exact same telescope. Let me just pull it up for you guys here. Okay, here it is. From First Light Optic over in the UK. They are selling the same telescope under the Stellar Mirror brand. So it's the exact same scope. You can see here's 126 quadruple f7 flat field refractor telescope. Everything is the same. And if we scroll down somewhere in this list and we find the weight, we can see here weight is listed at the exact same thing. So I'm pretty sure it's accurate. I just don't know why it's so much lighter. I am going with something that's an f7. It is a little bit slower, I know. I think it should be fine running an f7 with an off-axis guide. That's a thing where I'm a little bit in doubt. So here I would like you guys' feedback. Is it okay to run an off-axis guide on f7? Or should I really go for something closer to f5 if I want to run off-axis guiders? I don't really know, as I see most guide scopes often run at around f4. So again, what do you guys think? Can I run an off-axis guide on an f7 refractor? Or is it gonna be too slow to get accurate guiding? Let me know. And also, I would also love feedback on the choice of optical design. I personally think this is gonna be great. This is kind of the focal length range that I'm looking for something around the like 900, 1,000, like 800, 900, 1,000 kind of ish focal length is kind of what I'm looking for the observatory. And then it's just a question of how fast it's going to be. But of course, I'm also limited by weight, as I don't want to put too much weight on the telescope either. So anyway, let me know with those constraints, saying like I don't want a telescope that much more than like ideally 12 kilograms. I want something around those 800, and I don't want anything with mirrors in it. I think this is probably the best I could come up with. But again, feedback, comment section would be awesome. Okay, let's talk about the computer that's going to run this whole shebang. I want something where I can have command line access. I need either a Windows OS or some kind of Linux shell so I can install my my Tailscale client on it, so I can connect into it over Tailscale. That's the network VPN that I'm going to be using to connect all my computers together, so I can actually access this remotely. Again, the technical side I'm pretty comfortable with. However, I want to talk about the actual hardware that's going to be running all this. I've been looking at this. It's from a company called RB Focus. I was actually looking at this company because of their flat panels. They have these very, very nice flat panels. Now they also have this Astro computer here. It's just essentially like a small computer, but it is a fully fledged Windows system, as you can see here. It's, first of all, it's light. It's 250 grams, which I like. As we talked about, weight is going to be something I'm going to be keeping an eye on here. And it's relatively light, and it's relatively cheap. If we spec this out with a decent spec, 16 gigs of RAM, and let's put a 500 gig hard disk in there, or SSD in there, we're up at like 650 euros, which is not too bad. I haven't seen much from these. I've seen a few videos of them. They look quite promising. I mean, the hardware here, like Celeron N4 core, it's not the fastest thing, but it has plenty of USB ports, and it has obviously some power ports, power through, as you can see here, where you can run our heaters. We have an Ethernet jack, plenty of USB ports. Overall, port-wise, connectivity-wise, you can see more USB ports on the other side, power ports, HDMI out, that kind of thing. So you can even run like a KVM on it if you wanted, something like that. It's a quite nice device. I kind of like it. However, of course, there is the elephant in the room, which of course is the Eagle 6 from Prima Luce Lab. Now, no doubt in my mind that the Eagle is the premium product here. This is probably like the best you could get. If you have like no compromises, this is probably what you would pick. It has some really nice additional features, like it has, I can't remember what they call it. They have a special like Ethernet port on it that allows you to connect directly into the BIOS and actually have BIOS level access over the internet. Even if the computer is turned off, I'm gonna be able to turn it off on remotely. It has this built-in camera, so you basically get a view of what the telescope is seeing. So you put this on top of the telescope, and that camera there just gives you a wide-angle view of where the telescope is pointing, what it's seeing on the night sky right in front of it. It's a very, very nice device. There's no doubt about it. This is the better choice of the two. However, looking at the price, the other one kitted out with 16 gigs of RAM and 500 gigs of hard drive space, that was 650 euros. Now we're looking at 1400 for this. And if we look at the specs here, it only comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 250 gigs of NVMe SSD storage. But other than that, of course, it has all those nice features. And of course, they come in bigger variants. You can get the S, the Eagle 6S, then you get slightly more CPU power if you want more up to those similar spec. Like you get way more up to an i5, but you get the 16 gigs of RAM. But then again, if we begin to look at the Eagle 6 Pro, prices are gonna go up quite a bit. As you can see here, we have the normal Eagle, the Eagle 6. If we're gonna go with a Pro version, where if we want up to those 16 gigs of RAM, we're gonna look at more than 2,000 euros, and 3.5 if you want the full-fledged version with 32 gigs of RAM and plenty of everything, just the premium top-of-the-line model. They are extremely expensive, and that's why I kind of find that RB Focus computer a little bit more enticing, as even though I don't get a lot of compute power, all it really needs to do is it just needs to have enough compute power to plate solve, which I think it should have. I'm leaning towards the RB Focus, as you can probably hear, but I still want to hear what you guys' experience is. What do you think I should do? Do you think it's going to be too much of a headache with the RB Focus? Should I just fork over the money and maybe buy one of the Eagles now? Maybe try to see if I can find one second hand. I don't know. If you really want to join the discussion and have a bigger back and forth with me and the other people in the community, I have set up my observatory build project area over on the Discord server, as you can see here. And what you do is you scroll up to the top and you go up to channel and roles, and then you join the Observatory Advisory Board. That gives you access to this area. And in here you will both see, of course, just general chats, but there's also the topics. Right now there's only the discussion about the wooden deck and the concrete slab, where I kind of put a lot of what I just said in the video. Once this video is live, you will see all the other topics in here as well. So if you have feedback, you can also jump over here on Discord and give me the feedback over there, so we can begin this discussion back and forth, and hopefully I can make a decision about what to do. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to you guys' comments and suggestions and feedbacks and advice. And hopefully in the next video, we are going to be moving into phase 2, which of course is the actual construction phase, where we're going to be beginning to dig and get some concrete in the ground. Phase 2 is going to be the actual construction. So that's going to be getting the actual main structure up and running. One there is that that goes in the middle. That's likely the light for the polar scope. But I think one of these goes into the array.